So something that a lot of people have been asking, just in general, not to me, just as a general statement, people are kind of wondering in the back of their mind is, how long does Toontown Rewritten have left? Some people think it's going to die very soon. Some people are still surprised it's even around. Some think it has a bit of life left. And a lot of people, I would say 95% of people I've heard talking about this, are mainly using the counts of who's online to justify this argument is what it seems like. Is that the main thing that everyone's talking about is how many players are online and how does that affect how long the game has left. But today I'm going to tell you that the answer is we don't really know how long the game has left, and it really has nothing to do with how many people are playing the game, and I will explain why briefly. So, the thing is, for a traditional game like TTO, like World of Warcraft, like any subscription-based MMO game, even a game you buy, the way the game works, the way the game survives is based on how many people actually purchase the game. So, how many people are actively playing at once is imperative to the success of the game when it's subscription-based because that is the way revenue is generated. So, if the player base dwindles, the game no longer has the revenue to keep running, which causes the game to die. That's why a lot of people were able to successfully predict Toontown Online was going to close when the number of online players just about got cut in half. It was a very predictable thing that when they no longer had half the revenue, that the game was going to slowly die. For Wizard 101, you can tell that areas are more open than they used to be, so you can tell that game is dying from how many people are online at once and how many subscriptions there are. However, that is not even close to the case for TTR, because the amount of players on has absolutely jack shit to do with how much money they're raising, because TTR is a private server that doesn't actually get any money from its player base. The amount of people online at once, the amount of subscriptions, none of that shit actually means anything. The only way the game is being funded, the only reason why the servers even work as well as they do is because there's rich supporters of the game that are donating their personal money to keep the servers running. And the way the game's going to work or not work is solely based upon how long those donors continue to support the game. If those donors support the game for 10 or 15 more years, the game is going to exist for 10 or 15 more years. How many people will be playing it? I don't know. But my point is, that is directly what determines whether the game is alive or not. It's not about whether the numbers go up or down. It's not about any of that shit. It's only about whether or not the donators continue to support the game. Right now, TTR has some insane donators. It's actually pretty crazy how dedicated the donators are, and they're the ones who've been keeping the game alive. Of course, they could get new donators, but my point being is that it doesn't actually matter how many concurrent players are on for whether or not the game is alive, aside from whether or not, I guess, that affects the judgment of if the players want to, the people who are supporting the game want to support it or not. But really, it's going to come down because it's a passion project, and that's what's keeping it alive, are those donators. That is what will ultimately determine whether or not the game is around. It has absolutely nothing to do with the amount of players on. So if somebody says, well, I think the game has 2 years left because the player numbers are going like this and all this shit. No, we really don't know how long the game has left because the game could go on forever if the donators continue to pay for it forever. Now, how long the game will remain populated, that could be a different story. I expect a good deal of players will still play the game if it's up, but there will be a certain threshold where just nobody logs on to the game. But I think we're honestly quite a ways away from that because once you find an MMO, you have individuals that tend to be very stagnant in at least supporting the game. I mean, think about it. Toontown has had no real update in the last 7 or 8 years, and people still play the fucking game. I don't see what the difference of 4 more years is. I would expect the game to last for in at least some capacity, as in you have enough people online to get a group, even if you have to wait a bit, for almost as long as they continue to support the game. And just based upon what I've heard about the financial status of those supporting the game, I expect the game to exist in some iteration, as in you can log online and play it for quite some time. But this is subject to change if the donators lose faith in the admin team, if there's some type of inner conflict, if the donator's financial status changes. Those are the things that will determine whether or not the game lives or dies, not necessarily the player base numbers. Because as far as I can tell, because TTR is a passion project, I don't think they really give a shit about the subscriber number. I mean, not the subscriber numbers, what do you call it? How many people are logging in at once. So, again, these are just my opinions. I think that they're relatively based in fact. If you disagree, that's okay, I understand, but I'd love to know what your varying opinion is and why you hold that opinion. If it's not based upon the donation levels, but keep the game going. But thanks for watching. This will be kind of a short rant. I don't want to go too crazy with this one, but I'll see you guys in a few more days when I post another video. Goodbye.